Hello everyone, happy Inktober 2023. I just thought I'd give a quick introduction to some nib drawing using ink and nibs. Nibs are the metal part you can put on these holders, and actually I have quite a few holders here. You typically will buy them empty like this, and they'll come with some nibs. These all have nibs in them. It's quite simple. You can just take your nib and slide it in. It's got a little circular thing, and boom, there it is right there. There's other kinds of nibs. There's not nibs, pen holders. This one's a mapping pen or a crow quill pen. It's very, very fine. They used to be very, very cheap. Now they're not. They do break very easily. Mapping or crow quill, they call them. So anyway, I have these, and like I said, I have a few, and I can put different nibs in them. And there's different kinds of nibs. There's calligraphy nibs, there's drawing nibs, there's some that work for both. I mean, honestly, you can use any of them for anything you like, but calligraphy nibs have sort of, their metal's been cut a certain way so that you can do like Gothic writing or Celtic or anything like that. So the type of ink you're going to use is, well, any kind of ink you like, really. I use this super black speedball ink. I have a bunch of it here, and I usually will pour it into a little container and then dip my pen in that. I also have this wonderful ink, which is Sumi, which is probably not the best ink for these kinds of pens, but I use it anyway. It's very orange, which I love. You can use also things like the golden high flow acrylics. These you can use it to dip your pen in, and it works really well, and then you got all those great colors. And there's various colored inks everywhere. There's liquid watercolors, everything like that. Now, the one thing you have to be careful of is anything that's waterproof or not designed specifically for calligraphy. Let me give you an example. So I have, like, this is a lovely ink I have. This is by Herbin, and it's Violette Pensée, which is, it's for pens. So this is purple ink here, and this is specifically designed for fountain pens or the kinds of pens that I'm using, and it's not waterproof. So it's not going to gum up the works of your fountain pen if you have one, because they can be quite expensive, or gum up the works of your little nibs. It also washes off your pen easily. So if you do use something that is waterproof like this, you'll want to make sure you clean your nibs really well in water and then dry them so that they don't rust. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick demo of these things. I think you'll find it's really fun, very inspiring to work with, and quite simple. If you're interested in it, there's St. Louis Art Supply, which sells antique nibs, which are, you know, I guess there's lots left in the world still, and so they sell those, and a lot of those are great because some of them are made to hold more ink than a traditional, well, the new speedball drawing nibs or whatever. So when I do my demo, I'll kind of show you the difference there. Yeah, that's it really. So enjoy. Okay, everyone. This paper I'm using is Strathmore Stillman & Byrne, and this is one of my pens. It's got an antique nib. There's another nib that I've got. And there's another nib. This is what I keep them in. Just a lovely little box. You could use a tackle box, anything like that. I have several so that when one breaks I can just switch them out. So here's this lovely holder. They just come out just like that. You can interchange them. This one's got a little more space for ink, etc. I typically have several holders so I don't have to keep changing my nibs because they can be kind of delicate. This one's cool. If I push on it, it expands, which shows that you can get a thicker line. So some of them are stiffer, some of them are looser. I use this ink, Speedball Super Black, which is a waterproof ink. I put it in a little jar, have it nearby, somewhere near my right side because I'm right-handed. Take my pen. Always have a rag handy. Dip the pen in, give it a little tap, and then you just start drawing. This does very straight lines. Now notice I'm not moving my wrist a lot. You should be able to go most directions with these. So I'm going to start sort of a cross hatching, and my advice to you with cross hatching is don't start with perpendicular or fully crossing lines so that they make kind of an X, not an X, but like a cross-like effect, because it'll look more like a net. So especially if you don't have a lot of cross hatching to do, start with angles to angles, not like an X shape. And I just kind of come across like that, and it gets darker and darker, just like we talked about. This kind of motion, you're using that natural curve of the wrist, and it will make a curved line, as opposed to those very deliberate straight lines that I made. And this is just kind of letting it sort of fade out as it gets towards the end, more pressure at the front. You can do any shape and repeat it to get that effect. The line density shading, the more you put on there, the darker it gets, and you can even start hatching over the stuff at some point. So this is just a repeated W kind of shape, and then I just kind of hatch over a couple things to darken them. The key to this kind of shading is that you have to stop and look, see what you've been doing, so that you don't overdo it, because once you overdo it, it's very hard to go back. So this is me using light pressure and then pushing down a little bit on the pen. So really light, sorry, that's heavy, and then light. Very delicate little lines. So next, I'm going to rinse off this brush, or sorry, this nib with water. And this has got water in it, it's just been dirtied with black. So if I keep trying to draw with it, it's going to create a gray line, which is definitely another way to make lines. You can use grays or dilute your ink. And notice I dry it quite carefully because these will rust. They have the potential to rust. Then I can take it out. These are calligraphy nibs. You notice they have that flat top on them. So when I go ahead and put that in here, in another nib, it's going to give me a different kind of line. And these are specifically designed to do certain calligraphy. This particular one is for sort of Gothic stuff, where you've got the very skinny line and then a very wide line. You can write words. That's a rest for in music, sheet music. And then like here's a sort of, from what little I remember of doing Gothic writing. So this one's got a different tip. It's got a little sort of round thing on the end. So this makes more of a Comic Sans line. It's sort of a fat and soft line. I'm going to change paper just so you can see it better. So see, it stays all. So it's not fine. It gives a nice wider line, but it doesn't have any, very strong line, like skinny lines and then thick lines. It's just more of a script, basic script piece. Again, got my water, rinsing it out. It's good to have a lot of water nearby. You could have like a dirty water one and then a clean water one, so you could do the first cleaning in a dirty one and then go to the clean one. See, I took that right out. This is a kind of interesting one. These are for really big scripts. You can get them quite large. And this will make very large, if I do this right. Yeah, there you go. I mean, you gotta have bigger ones for bigger text. You do have to keep dipping in. Oh, look, I got a little splash of ink. That is one of the disadvantages that can happen. And I'll wash out that fancy one. Take that out. This is a drawing nib. It could be for calligraphy too, but it's more of a copper plate or that very scripty writing. It's not for some reason that nib goes too far down into the holder, so I can't use that. So I'll put that one in there, which I like. I don't really categorize them except calligraphy ones and non-calligraphy ones. Sometimes I find ones that I like better than others. I'm not the most organized, but I have a basic idea what they look like. So this one you can get the nice fine lines, push down and get a thicker line. These are very expressive pens and very fun to play with. Notice I'm pulling down on the pen. You can use these with scripts, so you can go different directions. But when you try to go upwards too much, it can catch on the paper. So the smoother your paper is, the less it's going to catch on it. And some paper will absorb your paint. I don't know what that was about. So I'm going straight down. That's kind of what I'm showing you there. And remember, you can turn your page, so you don't have to you don't have to always try to be awkward about it. Just turn your page if you need to go a different direction. Alright, I washed that one out. This is an interesting antique nib. It's got extra barrels on it, and so it holds more ink. Now you have to realize sometimes you get them and they don't work right. Maybe they weren't cut right, maybe they've been used before, maybe the ink has gotten gummed up in them, and you just have to kind of accept that and just move on to another nib. That one wasn't working as well as I liked. But it finally got going. But look at those just gorgeous, loose, expressive lines. I think I'm using Duralar now. That's kind of a plastic paper. See, and if I lose control of my hand and I smush it down accidentally, it's going to splash ink. You can make these I like making these little spiders with them. So the key is keeping your hand nice and loose. videos. Like, then you can just play with your ink, make little, I have no problems getting dirty. You can make things. You can do Rorschach things, like little thumbprint animals. The key is let your imagination run free. This is one of the few things, drawing and art, that you can do that really nobody can tell you what you can't do. You don't have to show anyone. You just use it as a meditative process, or just to discover what a medium will do. It doesn't have to be for sale in a gallery. It doesn't have to be something you show all your friends. It can just be something that you enjoy.